you kind of wonder, was it when Sally met Harry or was it when Harry met Sally?
You're right, exactly. Because the movie,
it's all the same.
It starts
They
with
met
Harry, but Harry's kissing, and Sally's the one who meets Harry first. So really, it's when Sally met Harry.
But you meet someone when someone introduces you to that person. So
Oh,
it's like,
that's a good point.
If they asked me, I could write a book.
Hey pals!
Happy New Year! Oh,
Happy New Year! Welcome to another episode.
Welcome.
The last episode of 2023.
Oh my god, we won't see you until next year.
That's right. We're going to start the new year with a wonderful movie.
Men and women can't be friends because no man can be friends with a woman that he finds attractive. He always wants to have sex with her.
So you're saying that a man can be friends with a woman he finds unattractive?
No, you pretty much want to nail him too.
Such a New Year movie too. There's 2 New Years in this movie, what?
Oh yeah, exactly. It's all around Christmas, around New Year's, and so many like new things that happen to these characters that they learn about each other and themselves around this time.
Exactly. And it makes you think about what's the meaning of my life if I have no romance in it? Does it really matter? My job as a political consultant, it's nothing. My journalist job, it means nothing. All that matters is finding a partner.
Are you married? We'll say no, man. But you can do the job when you're in town, brother.
That's what this film is kind of.
Exactly. That's one thing, and also the vital question that humans have always asked themselves from the dawn of humanity. Can men and women be friends after all? Can they?
That's a really good question.
That's like a so cliche question because it's been asked so much, you know? So
You can definitely argue both sides too.
right.
So how do you think they can be friends, considering that the sex part always gets in the way? How could they be friends?
if you know, the thing is, like, if they don't find each other attractive, that's the only way that they can be friends. But the thing is that once they're friends, they get to know each other, and once you know the other person so well, there's sort of like a love that is going on. So it's so easy for that love to transform to romantic love.
Exactly, so true.
Because you get to know that person, all their quirks, all their like good parts and bad parts and everything about them. So it's already like love. So it's not gonna work really, I think.
I know, but then that's so sad to think men and women can't be friends. What? It's just all about romance?
Right, and you know, in conservative countries, it's like more established. So like in Iran, for example, it's like no question. Like nobody thinks that. Everybody knows that they can't be friends.
That's right. Even if they are friends, it's so looked down on for the woman's side.
Exactly.
If it's just one girl and one guy are friends, it always gets weird.
Yeah, that's true.
Never not. Well, actually, for me, only one time I've had a friend who was a guy, and there was nothing romantically involved. So you think 20 years of being alive, and that's only happened once. And exactly as you say, it was because, like, we don't find each other attractive.
Right.
But as soon as you do, as soon as you become closer friends, then how could you be?
That's right.
I think, don't you think women could do it? Like, just put aside any romantic interest? Or do you think women are always after it?
Women can do it. It's the men that can't. They are like the ones that want to make the friendship into... Like, they don't even think of it as a friendship from the get-go. That's what the guy said, the man.
Right,
said.
right.
Harry said, you know...
Well, yeah, Harry says, like, if you don't find a person attractive, still you want to nail them anyway.
Exactly.
But I don't think that's how all guys think. That's crazy.
I think that's how they think.
But if we do say that women and men can't be friends, then basically we're saying everyone is putting on a pretense. Like, if a man and woman talk to each other, all they want is sex. There is nothing else going on. And that's kind of a dark, bleak way to think about it, too.
Right.
What if 2 people just want to be nice to each other and say hello and
Yeah,
be
definitely.
close?
Okay. I have no idea. Yeah, they could do that, but like friends that tell everything to each other definitely have crossed the boundary already. Like this guy, right? These two, they shared like one sorrow, one thing, like over a lost partner.
How's Joe?
Fine. I hear he's fine.
You're not with Joe anymore?
We just broke up.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's too bad.
Yeah. Well, you know,
So, what about you?
I'm fine.
How's married life?
Not so good. I am getting a divorce.
And they bonded over that, and they told each other everything, things that they wouldn't tell like their closest friends. Like Harry wouldn't say these things, some stuff that he told Sally to his other friend. What was his name? Jess? Yeah. And same goes with Sally. Sally also wouldn't say some things to that. So to her friend. So it's like,
were they saying it to each other just to like make each other jealous, do you think? Or were they like so comfortable? Because like imagine the guy doesn't say it to his guy best friend.
right.
But he does say it to the girl that like, oh, I made a girl meow, whatever, so like some random thing.
Right.
Isn't he just saying that to make the girl jealous?
I don't think at that point they were like aware of their love for each other.
But how could you not? Because his whole thing is that we can't be friends. I'm always thinking about the sex part. So how could he have not been actively thinking about it? I don't know.
That's right. Well, you know, I think Harry all along kind of wanted to be with Sally. Like, the whole time, like, even from the start, he says that I found you attractive. And it was always Sally that had to light up the green light and kind of, like, make it easy for him to come.
But at the same time, he only wanted to sleep with her. He never wanted anything more.
That's right.
Don't you think? Well, here's the thing. So he's always like hitting on every woman. That's like his personality.
Right.
And so he hits on Sally as well. They don't do it. Finally, one day they do it. And then as soon as they do, he feels so uncomfortable. He's like, okay, I want to leave, you know, whatever. And then he gets up and leaves.
Right.
So it makes me think like he wasn't actually, at least up to that point, he wasn't into Sally. He was just like, oh, here's another woman I'm going to have sex with. And then he did have it, and then he was like...
I think, you know, my interpretation of that scene when he's like, he did it with her and he's awake, you know, just looking at the ceiling probably. I think at that time he is like, I have these feelings for her, but she only like kind of did it for getting over this guy and for consoling herself. I think that at that point it was like, yeah, I got these feelings for you, but look what you did. To get over that guy, you slept with me.
But she was so happy during that scene. She was like, let me get you water. She's smiling. She grabs the water like, do you want anything? Do you want to watch a movie? And in the meantime, he's so uncomfortable. He's like, only if you want to. Like, okay, I want to leave. And what do you think about it? Like, he's the one who's uncomfortable in that scene, and she's the one who's like, wow, we finally did it. Doesn't this feel great?
I think she really loved him at that point, of course, and she wanted to do it. But like, this guy also had feelings, but the way that he was thinking about the situation was different. Like, I don't want to ruin this friendship.
Maybe.
Probably he thinks that she doesn't feel the same way. Because she was just crying over another guy.
All this time, I've been saying that he didn't want to get married. But the truth is, he didn't want to marry me.
Right.
So it's like, this is not going to go anywhere, even if we tried, you know? And like,
that's true.
It
was fully a rebound situation.
Exactly.
But she was so rude to him later, don't you think? Like, she slaps him in the face.
Yeah, that was too much.
That was way too much. Like, imagine if a friend of yours, like, imagine me and you were talking, and I'm like, phew. Like, there's no way you would keep calling me and apologizing. What?
Right.
To just call me. Don't be afraid to just phone me.
And he's doing that for days. Why did he do that?
And the thing is, like, yeah, that's one thing. And she was also as guilty. Like, I don't understand why she slapped, exactly.
I know.
I was shocked when I saw that.
Like, it's played as a romantic moment. It's like, you called me a dog. How could you? But it's like, oh, this is the worst kind of friendship. And right after, like, he's still so kind to her. And when they come back into the wedding, he's, like, looking at her and, oh, please forgive me. What is there to forgive?
Exactly. You know, I think they maybe... Because, like, the original script was not supposed to even, like, get them together, right? So maybe they kind of, like, rushed the whole thing. Maybe they didn't think it over. Because I kind of felt like it was a little rushed. of course, that's how movies should be. Like, at the end, it's usually like the last 10 minutes that is gonna have like the whole thing wrapped up, or like the last 20 minutes. But still, I kind of feel like they didn't think it over that much, like how
That's
they're
possible.
going to, get them together. How is she going to forgive and all that? Even though the last dialogue is so beautiful and iconic, but.
I love that you get a little crinkle above your nose when you're looking at me like I'm nuts. I love that after I spend a day with you, I can still smell your perfume on my clothes. And I love that you are the last person I want to talk to before I go to sleep at night.
The last dialogue works really well because all she wants to hear is, how can I trust that you love me?
Right.
You literally, I gave you myself and you wanted to get out of there.
Right.
And so you keep using me as this friend who you want sometimes you don't want. How can I be with you? How can I trust that you actually love me? And then he starts listing all the ways that he loves her. He's like,
that was so beautiful. Yeah. Even before watching the movie, I saw a clip of that part, and it always stuck with me. So good. And then when I saw the movie, I was like, oh yes, that's the movie that I saw the clip of. That's so good.
That's what every woman wants to hear. All the time. Just like, tell me everything you like about me. Like, tell me about my scrunch thingy or
that shows that you pay attention to me. Exactly. I feel like in any kind of relationship, that's how you kind of show the other person that you care, that you understand or see the other person.
Exactly. And how does she reply? She's like, I hate you, Harry. I hate you so much. And that's played as a romantic scene too. What? How do you get away with that?
I think at that point, I think she's overwhelmed. She says that. But I hate you at that point wouldn't work.
I know.
Yeah. But still good script, good dialogue.
Oh, no, really good script, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I wouldn't do that. Yeah. If I was Harry, I would be a little confused. At the same time, though, if you compare their looks, Sally looks amazing.
Yeah.
And Harry is like pretty average. So
exactly.
Maybe that's why he just takes it all.
She's such a beautiful actress. I saw her earlier, like the first movie that I saw her in was Kate and Leopold.
I haven't seen that yet.
You haven't seen it? It's so good.
Kate and Leopold. Okay.
Yeah. Definitely check it. I might be wrong. Maybe it's Leopold and Kate. No, Kate and Leopold.
Okay.
It's a rom-com. She plays a lot of rom-com.
Yeah,
apparently.
and she does so well too.
She was really big in the 90s.
Exactly. And you can see exactly why. Well, tell me what Kate and Leopold was about before.
It's about this guy that is also like, I think in 1890s or something. He time travels to New York. Well, this girl's neighbor time travels to that time and brings this man to New York. And that's how they get to know each other. This girl gets to know him and they fall in love. It's pretty good.
That's amazing. I love how every single rom-com is in New York. That's so great.
Oh, nice.
How does that happen?
And you love New York.
Exactly.
Like, I bet you want to go there and celebrate New Year's right now.
For real. If you're in New York celebrating, you're so lucky. Have a good time.
Exactly.
But even Meg Ryan, she directed a rom-com recently.
Really?
And she acted in it.
No way. What is it called?
She's mastered this genre. Oh, God, I don't know what it's called, but
she's really good. Like, so beautiful, of course, in this movie. Amazing. Like, the hairs were so good. The 80s, 90s hair.
Yeah, and it shows her age, too. Like, it's a part of her
character. How did they do this? I know they were so young in the beginning, and then the makeup and all that is just so great.
It's so good. And to think this is a small budget film. It's not like they had the budget of Maestro that just came out where the guy looks so amazing as he ages.
Right.
They were just kind of run and gun filming it.
Wow. Do you know by any chance like what was the budget of the movie?
It was 14 million.
14 million.
Which I know
Still
sounds
really
like
good.
a lot, but
no.
No.
For movies this big,
exactly, considering they also shot on film,
right.
They were shooting in the street, have to get permits.
What was the budget for Elf? Do you know 20 million or something like that, I think?
I want to say 70 million, but I could be making that up.
Really? So this is so much lower. Wow.
But also, Elf was kind of 20 years after, so inflation is a thing.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
But yeah, it had such a small budget. And the thing with Meg Ryan is, so she was the it girl of her time.
Exactly.
And you can see exactly why. Like, it's so easy to fall in love with her. Like,
character.
you know, forget about the face. She's so beautiful. Yeah, we agree. And the eyes and everything. Yeah. That's easy. So many actors are beautiful. But her charm, for me, was that she plays so awkward. Like, she walks awkwardly. She does this with her shoulders, and, like, it's like a penguin walk that she has. Yeah. So it's like she doesn't know that she's pretty. Yeah. Even though, of course, she knows, but this is how she acts. It's kind of like a humbleness kind of thing. That actually makes other people really attracted to her because she doesn't know. Exactly. She's beautiful. So she's not like walking around like, oh, I'm the best, I'm special. She, in the character that she was playing, at least, she's this like awkward, always, oh, I feel uncomfortable in my body. What's going on? I have this. And that's so intoxicating that you're like.
That's one thing. And her high maintenance kind of like characteristic in the movie is also like played out. It's kind of, I think, her quality, her as an actress, because Kate and Leopold, in that one, she's also the same way. So I'm kind of thinking maybe just the way she looks or the way she behaves, her attitude is really good for this kind of characters. Like those that are like a little bit high maintenance, have some values, and like they're structured and organized. Exactly. And then their partner is usually not. So that plays out really good. Harry is... Wow, the actor, what was it, Billy?
Billy Crystal.
Oh my God.
How funny is that guy?
He's so funny.
Like, he's a comedian. And you know, Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal kind of wrote the film with the writer and director. Yeah. So they all sat down and improvised together and added those to the script. Oh. That's always the best way to go about it, to get the input of the actors.
Exactly, yeah. You know, I heard that the director and the writer of the script, they're actually Harry and Sally, basically.
I know, how amazing is that?
How amazing, wow. Look at that. Like, Harry is exactly like the director. I forget his name.
Rob Reiner.
And the writer is Nora, I think. I don't know.
Nora Ephron.
Yes. So they kind of like sat down. They wanted to write another movie, actually, talk about another movie. But I don't know, the conversation kind of changed. And that's how this movie came about.
How
this
amazing.
idea, just this idea of can women and men be friends, this theme. And they took it and...
So cool. Because Nora Ephron, writer, she was a journalist. Yeah. Just like Sally. Oh. So she's a journalist in New York. And Rob Reiner is a director in New York. And so the amazing thing about these two is both of their parents are big artists, like famous, millionaire. Everyone knows them. They're amazing. Wow. So both of these people grew up in an artist family. And each of them like worked really hard as well, and each of them is amazing in their field. So Nora, as a journalist, like she went to these different countries and wrote there, and she also directed films, wrote films, and Rob Reiner literally directed some of the best movies of all time.
Oh my God!
We've got to talk about The Princess Bride on this podcast. We've got to talk about Misery. I think he might have done This Is Spinal Tap as well. So like so many iconic films. Wow! So these two come together, and they're like, we should make something together. You know, we have such a similar background of growing up here. Our parents were like that. We should make something together.
And boy, did they.
I know, exactly. And then you're saying they took their characters, their own lives.
Exactly.
How amazing is that?
Like, even the quirks that Sally had about, like, ordering in the restaurant, that's, like, the writer.
I'd like strawberry instead of vanilla if you have it. If not, then no ice cream, just whipped cream, but only if it's real. If it's out of a can, then nothing.
Like, that's how she orders.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
so cool. Oh. And even, like, Harry's kind of, like, nonchalant kind of behavior and not caring. That's also the same way with the director, I think.
Exactly. Like, the director was divorced 10 years when he was making this movie. So he was like, love doesn't exist. People will leave you. This is how I feel about life.
Oh, yeah. I heard it somewhere as well that his cynicism, like Harry's cynicism, is exactly because of the director.
Yes.
That's how he views life. And Sally or Nora is like exactly the optimist one.
How lovely.
I know.
Like, two people come together and they put themselves into a film.
Right.
And then the film lives on forever. Like Rob Reiner was saying, he went to Nora and said, I want to make a movie about two friends who don't want to have sex because they think the sex will ruin their friendship. And then they do have sex and it does ruin the friendship. That's the whole idea
So he really wanted to ruin the friendship, the whole thing. That's right. They wanted to do that. But then I think he was kind of like other people, when they talked about how they cared about the characters, he kind of changed his mind. Exactly. And he also cared about them so much, so he decided to.
And the amazing thing is that while he was filming this movie, like literally while they're on set filming, he met this woman that he fell in love with. And they got married.
No
so
way.
The director,
are they still married?
They are still married, yeah.
Look at that.
So like 10 years he was no love. He was just like love is dead. And then while he was making this movie about like love being ruined after friendships, and he meets someone and suddenly he's like, okay, I understand. Let's have them get together at the end.
Exactly. That's so cool. Oh my
It's so good to be like so this open. Yeah, you don't say, oh, this is how the story has to end. This is my vision. Like being open to changing it.
It's very hard too, you know, when you start with this belief you want to get it done. It's so hard to convince you to do it otherwise. You're like, no, that's what I wanted. That's my vision. That's like how it should go.
Well, maybe, you know, the thing is rom-coms are so different because it's all about relationships and romance.
Exactly. It has to end in that.
Exactly. And it's simpler to like change your mind on it because either they will or they won't. But let's say you're writing a story about the atomic bomb. Like it has to end a certain way, you know.
Exactly.
You can't suddenly change it.
That's right.
Or can you?
Oh my goodness, like it's just amazing to see how when writers and directors click, what great movies actually come about. So social media was social network, yeah. That we have a video about also. It's exactly this way. Like the writer Aaron Sorkin completely like clicked with this director, and they kind of like came together and wrote this masterpiece. Same with this, like the dialogue is so amazing, and you can see that it's great writing. It's so funny, and everything that they do actually. Well, there was so much improvising as well by the actors. I have to give them that. Like for example, in the first scene, when Harry is, spitting the grape seeds.
Yeah,
that's totally improvised. Just to something to show early on that Harry is this kind of person. Like he doesn't care that much, and he's like, I don't know.
I wonder if it was improvised on set or if they improvised it by rehearsing.
They improvised it by director. At the time of I think
at the time of shooting,
exactly.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Because the script that I read, it had all these elements in it, but I think that was the script that maybe they wrote after the film was already shot.
Oh, I see.
To help them edit it.
And they also took a long time to make a name for this one, find a name for it. Yeah.
And how relatable is that?
I know.
The whole time they're like, oh, okay, well, it's about a girl and a boy meeting, so maybe boy meets girl.
Yeah.
Harry and Sally.
So now you kind of wonder, was it when Sally met Harry or was it when Harry met Sally?
You're right, exactly. Because the movie,
it's all the same.
It starts with Harry, but Harry's kissing, and Sally's the one who meets Harry first. So really, it's when Sally met Harry.
But you meet someone when someone introduces you to that person. So
that's a good point. Amanda
so I wonder which one was she like? Oh, Harry, this is Sally, or was she like, oh, Sally, this is Harry?
Yeah, I think the girlfriend was like, oh, Sally, you're here. So yeah basically Harry first.
Okay.
Did meet Sally, it's true.
I see. Wow.
So
Even the first scene is so iconic. I think I saw it before even watching the movie.
Wow.
Like, it's so cool. Just the argument that they have about the whole, women and men relationship, friendship.
It's so cool. It's exactly 13 minutes, that scene.
Oh, no.
And then you can kind of see the structure of the movie after. It's 13-minute sections of different things happening.
Really?
How structured is this movie? It's crazy. Wow. So you imagine what's the point of that scene? It's to introduce us to Harry's characteristics, Sally's characteristics, and what each of them wants.
Yeah.
And you learn that so fast. This girl is mainly happy. She has these goals. She wants to go to the big city. And then that guy, he's so miserable and he thinks women and men can't be friends. And
so pessimist.
Exactly. And so you learn why can't these two be friends? Why can't they click? You learn that in the first 13 minutes. Yeah. Because the film is called When They Met, right? So you're expecting them to get together at the end or get somewhere. So now in the first 30 minutes, you realize, oh, this is why they can't get together at all. Their ideologies about life is totally different.
Exactly.
So good. And it's 13 minutes of just them sitting in the car. Well, there's like, of course, variety. They go in a restaurant, they come back, walk around. But overall, it's like this long conversation. It's amazing.
I was kind of wondering why, though, like the girlfriend kind of... Why was it necessary to show the girlfriend kind of getting Harry to get in the car with Sally and go? Because it's kind of like unrealistic. Would a girlfriend actually do that? Like,
right.
Especially on like a long ride to New York. Like...
Exactly. 18-hour ride with another person.
I know.
And they were so clingy, so you would think the girlfriend would never allow this.
Right, exactly. I don't know. But maybe just to show that Harry is just a womanizer or like has all women attracted to him and all that.
Exactly. I like how it makes him immediately unavailable. Because if it's a rom-com, you're like, oh, here's a guy, here's a girl. But in this one, immediately he's kissing somebody else and they're saying, I love you and everything. Then after this time they say goodbye, then you meet them again. And you kind of start to expect a structure to happen. So first, it's a long conversation of why they can't be together. Next time they meet, you're like, oh, are they gonna now that they're older, make it work?
Yeah.
And so, and another long conversation. They're sitting in the plane and they're talking about, how is your life going now? Oh my God, you're getting married. And so the whole time, the film is throwing these questions in your way of like, hey, what did you expect was going to happen? You thought they were going to get together? You're wrong.
Oh.
Each of them has a girlfriend.
That's right. It's like always trolling us the whole time.
Exactly.
Like. And did you see like those documentary kind of things? Like,
that's so
cool.
good.
So the structure is exactly as you said. Like at first we see two old couple talking about their love, and then we start. Then immediately we go to Harry and Sally. They hate each other. They can't get along with each other. And then another one. You say it's 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Around. Then another couple talk about their relationship and how they got together. And then, again, we get to Sally and Harry. Harry wants to get married. Sally is in a relationship, which is going to be a long-term relationship. And, yeah.
And then another
Is that
couple.
a 15-minute thing, too? Or?
I swear, yeah. I think it keeps getting a little bit shorter.
I think so. That's a little bit short, I felt like in my mind,
But it's amazing. And the documentary footage does two things at once. So one is it's so enjoyable to hear a love story of somebody old. It's like immediately interesting. And they make it seem like it's real too. Well, apparently the stories were real, right? So
but the dialogue
Yeah. So the director and writer took the stories of people they knew, including their parents. And so they wrote that out and then they cast it. Actors to act it out.
Really? I thought those were real people talking about their love.
But it was in the script.
Because the writer, Nora, actually did like interview a lot of couples. So I felt like that's like one of the footages, of that.
We should find that out. But the thing is, it was in the script. So.
Right. Oh, is it? Okay.
It is funny. It's very like, it's so related to the movie, each of them.
Yeah.
That it makes me think it can't be.
That's right, because like the dialogue has got to be fast. Like if they just start to improvise and talk about their relationship, it's gonna be so boring. And
exactly.
But usually the men would say some stuff. And did you see also some of them were apparent that it was scripted? For example, the one that the man keeps talking, but the woman is interrupting her. Oh my God, I was going to kill her.
That woman was so annoying.
I know.
How have they been together for 50 years? What the hell? But exactly. But it kind of shows all kinds of couples. One woman doesn't talk at all. One talks so much. So I do think it was scripted. But so one purpose is like it's so enjoyable to just hear love.
Yeah.
But another purpose is you know where the story is going to go. So like, for example, the first documentary is, oh, we knew we were in love when we first met. So then, cut to, here's these two people meeting. Guess what? They're going to be in love. This is what we're implying. And then they separate, Harry and Sally separate, and then we cut to another documentary footage. And it says, I first saw her 30 years ago, but then we didn't get together until 30 years later. So now you're like, oh, are they going to get together in 30 years? Is this what you're telling me?
Yeah.
So you keep comparing their love to these loves.
And it's never going to be the same.
Oh, wow. But it's also, in a way, it is also similar still.
Exactly.
So, and then you start thinking about your own love. So I love like how smart. It's just so random. Let's put documentary footage of people saying they fell in love.
That's so cool. What is another movie that you can think of maybe that has some real this kind of footages in it?
There's a director called Woody Allen. He's also a comedian and a writer.
I see.
And he's also a New Yorker, like a big time New Yorker. And his movies always take place in New York, are always about like romance and philosophy and death. And are always funny. And his style is very much like this. Like, he always acts in his own movies.
Oh, yeah? Wow.
Not always, but a lot of the time. And so when he does, like, a lot of the times he talks to the camera, or there's, like, this documentary section where he's giving this exposition, and then you go into the movie. Right. So I think that Harry Met Sally was really inspired by the style of Woody Allen movies.
Really?
To have this doc.
At that time, he even made movies?
He was the 70s.
Oh,
60s, 70s mainly. But still alive.
I see. Well, it's beautiful. It's a good format to do it this way.
Yeah, and then basically also from Woody Allen, they got to make the city a character. Like, the city is always a center stage, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's like they're at a museum, or they're in this cool street, or they're buying a tree. They're at a show, restaurant.
That's right, yeah.
Always. The city is so... They just... advertise it so much. I don't know why everyone does this, but it makes me want to move to New York.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Every movie that is in New York just makes you want to go there.
I know.
It's amazing. I love the tree buying and stuff. That was so emotional. So beautiful. Like, you see, like, all these beautiful moments. And them going to restaurants. So there was this scene in the restaurant. Now it's a little off topic, but, you know, when she's faking orgasm? After that, there's this woman that says, this old woman, that says, I'll have what she's having.
I'll have what she's having.
Yeah, so funny.
I know, that's so good. And apparently she was related to the director.
Yeah, she was the director's mom.
Really? Okay. Wow, very related. Okay.
Like, that's so amazing that the director has the power to do that. Say, there's a funny line, I want my mom to say it. And then that became like one of the most iconic lines ever.
I know what. How could you like put your mom for this line specifically? It's a little, you know.
Exactly. For 6 hours, the mom has to sit there and listen to listen to Meg Ryan. That's crazy.
And you know that she was the actress. Kind of, I think she also suggested this part as well. Right.
I think actually Billy Crystal came up with the line.
Really?
Because I did say he's a comedian, so.
Oh, with the line. But the orgasm, I think, was her idea, but the actress's kind of like suggestion and stuff. The thing is, like, I felt like it was a little out of character because she always cares about what other people think. Kind of, she does.
Yeah, it's insane, that scene. Like, no one would ever do that.
Yeah.
Other than in a movie.
Exactly. Especially not her.
Yeah.
It was definitely out of character. But it was, like, good for Harry to kind of, like, see this side of her, I suppose.
Right, I guess. And it proves a really important point that apparently men didn't know even at that time.
What?
That women fake orgasms a lot of the time.
Oh, that's right. So there are so many things that this movie discusses, right? All these topics that it kind of like touches and talks about. That is like always a question between men and women.
Exactly.
That's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and because one writer was a woman, one was a man, they could keep talking about their experiences and bring that in.
Right.
And apparently at that time this was like pretty revolutionary. Women didn't talk about these things, men didn't.
Way.
Yeah, for real.
That was like the first time probably.
Exactly, like women's movements were growing, and so all this like it was actually making an impact.
Interesting.
Even now, like guys are clueless. They have no clue.
I know exactly. Yeah, they don't know. But I guess like that's how it is. Like humans never change, really. They never learn. But that was really cool to know. You know, I kind of thought that, oh my God, that's too cliche. Like these are so out there. Why would you do that? But I keep forgetting that was like a 90s movie, 80s movie.
Exactly.
1989.
And I love how there's another woman who always wants to be with married men. That's so funny. Like she's always searching for married men.
That was also cool to see because, like, that's kind of
relatable.
I feel like when you get older, that's gonna be the kind of conversations you have with your friend. Always the struggle, the morality. You don't know whether to encourage them or to not. Of course, it's wrong. What are you gonna say, right? Like, I feel like it's gonna happen. Really, it's so relatable,
and it's so natural to have it in the movie too.
Yeah,
like, so me and you, when we write, of course, you're thinking, what in terms of structure, what do I include here? Who do they talk to? What do they talk about?
Yeah,
what's gonna happen? And this movie felt so natural. It was like, okay, a guy and a girl talk, they don't get along. Another scene, the girl talks with her girlfriends and they set up a date. And another scene, like, they visit. It just felt so natural. Like, of course these things would happen.
Yeah,
it makes perfect sense that they would have a get together with like a lunch meeting with the best friends.
Yeah,
and she would complain about having lost her boyfriend. Like, it makes so much sense.
Exactly.
It's just, it makes it seem easy, but it's not.
And also the awkward dinner scene that they have with the best friends. They try to set up their best friends with each other. Oh, yeah, they try to do that. And then they completely fail. Because that happens also in life. Like, you click with someone else unexpectedly.
Exactly.
And that was so cool. And, you know, you also realize that you get to like someone based on how interested they are in your interests.
Exactly.
So they clicked because he was like, yeah, I wrote that, the thing that you quoted. And I write for magazines. And she was like, no way, I love that magazine, or I love those articles. So it's like you're always going to like someone based on how interested they are in your interests.
That's true. I felt like Marie was so much smarter than Jess. I don't know if, like, she was fully interested, or was she just looking for a man at that point? Like, she, for so long, she was with married man, and finally this guy is, like, actually interested in her. If it was that or what, because Jess didn't give her anything. Like, Jess is just like, yeah, nobody's ever quoted me back to me. This is amazing.
I know.
Why would you say that? And then later, Harry is like, Jess, look, you and Sally write for the same magazine. And Jess doesn't even say, oh, that's cool. Like, he just looks away. He's so anti-charismatic.
I know. The thing is, like, I think Jess was so... Oh, sorry. Mary was so desperate at that point after talking to Harry, and it's so awkward and they can't get along. To finally have someone that you can, like, have a flowy kind of conversation, it's like a God bless, you know.
That's right. Like, how awkward was their conversation right before that? Sally's like, well, let's just say I'm not a fan of this writer. And then the other guy's like, well, he's the reason I became a writer, but that doesn't matter. Oh, how
you can't talk after that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God.
It's so cool to see, like, how they write these kind of, like, situations. For example, awkwardness, you would feel like it's so easy to write about it, or, like, it's an everyday thing that happens. But actually, like, when you think about it, it's so hard to write these things. Like,
exactly.
Awkwardness, write it so it's realistic for the characters, it goes with them.
Exactly. Like, another scene that was really awkward that went so well was Harry, his ex-wife, walks into the store.
That's right.
It's crazy. Like, I hate that ex-wife, by the way. But anyway, she comes in and she's like, nice to meet you. And Sally, very much in character, she says, hi. She's not a person who's going to say nice to meet you. From the beginning of the movie, we've seen that. Like, even when Harry says, oh, it was interesting that we drove together, she's like, okay, have a good day, you know, have a nice life. Like, she doesn't say some nice things for the sake of saying them. Right? So then the wife is like, nice to meet you. And she's just like, hi. And then the wife says, okay, have whatever. I'm going to leave.
That's right. Because, like, you would, you know, in writing, for example, sometimes you can't, like, think of the characters, or, like, you run out of things. So you try to project your own character into your own personality into your characters. So, for example, you say nice to meet you all the time, and then just because of that, because it's by default, you write that for the characters. But it doesn't go with them. Like, you gotta consider them specifically, and how amazing that you pointed that out.
Exactly. And then you gotta also work with good actors who can tell you if you were false in what you wrote. Trust them.
good actors are so important. They could make or break the characters. Like, you can write all you want, like the best characters, but it's usually like something that only actors can make and make it come to life.
Exactly. So many things have to go right with a movie to work. I love this one so much. Exactly. And it's only an hour and a half.
Yeah.
How smart is it to keep a movie short?
I know. Yes, exactly. When I see a movie 2 hours, of course it's great. Especially if I love it, I want even more.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, why didn't you put more? But usually, I'm like, 1 hour and a half is perfect.
It's easy, yeah. It's like
yeah,
enjoyable.
I could watch it like, it's not gonna just disrupt my life and all that. Like, I could definitely do it, watch it and enjoy it and still be focused like the whole time.
Exactly.
Whereas like a 3 hour movie, 2 hour movie, it's gonna be definitely harder, of course.
Yeah. Maybe one day on the podcast we should do a 5 hour movie.
Oh
just
my
for
god!
The sake of
Is
it.
there one?
Oh yeah, there's 7 hours.
No.
18 hours.
That's a part-time job.
I know.
You're gonna just sit and watch a movie. How is a movie 7 hours?
I know, and they're usually so boring.
They
like,
could just make it into a TV show.
Exactly.
Like 7 episodes.
Because you would think, oh, it's a 7 hour movie, they have so much to say. But usually those 7 hour movies are the ones where it's just like 10 minutes of somebody walking down the beach.
Oh no.
Oh, that's tough.
So the pacing is so slow and dragging. Wow.
But maybe it'll be worth doing it once because it's an experience. Like, as you watch somebody walk down the beach for 10 minutes, you start to think about things.
Right.
About your own life.
Well, then if there could be movies that are 7 hours, then you could adapt so many novels that are like huge into that.
Exactly.
And just have all the details in it, like everything.
Right. But 1 hour and a half is good.
Exactly, especially for rom-coms, especially for that. And this rom-com did really good, by the way. Like, even though they had a really small budget, and I don't know how long it took them, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know the number of days
them.
either, but it can't be that long.
Exactly, but it was like a good box office hit. Especially because, like, at the same time, I think Batman was released.
Oh.
And another one, Ghostbusters.
Oh, it's classics.
Yeah, exactly. And because of that, they were kind of afraid that it's going to be, like, totally be missed and all that. But no, it worked really good. One strategy that they used in order to get there was that they put it only like in selected theaters, so maybe like 10, I don't know, maybe around like very small number.
I think 90 exactly, which
90?
is very little.
Yeah.
Considering there's thousands of theaters.
Exactly, yeah. I think it was only in US too, wasn't it? So they did that, and it's like it gets people to talk about it and word of mouth to kind of get going.
Yeah, if you have a good movie, that's a really good strategy to use.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And then they did this, and it got a little bit like, got people talking, and then they released it completely.
Yes, and it's such a good movie to watch by yourself and then be like, oh, I have a good movie, let's go watch this. Because there's so many funny scenes that you want to rewatch that you could then watch with another person.
Exactly. And you watched this movie 3 times.
Yeah, and then I watched it again twice.
Have you watched it? Oh, okay. In theaters, I was gonna ask, but
oh no,
but
hopefully it comes back.
Yeah, such a very like relatable kind of movie. So funny. The dialogues, they were a little bit fast. Like they talk back to back at times.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it's just blocks of dialogue. You know, because they say movies have to be visual.
Yeah.
But if you just watch this, it's always people talking.
Yeah,
constantly.
It's just that. It's like a theater kind of thing. Like it doesn't matter what the stage looks like or what's going on there. It's just people talking. Like it heavily is focused on the actors to carry the whole thing. It's all them.
Now here's a cool story. Nora Ephron, while she was writing this script, so as I said, she was kind of rich. Her parents were really famous. She had an uncle who was gonna pass away, and the uncle had written Nora into the will. Okay. So like Nora's very upset that the uncle's passing away, but she's also like, oh, thank God, I really need money right now. Like I'm gonna become an heiress.
All right.
And so at the same time, she was writing this script for 2 years. So she's like, oh, it's so difficult. I keep making changes and it's not working.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of sick of it. Like I want to go back to my journalism job. Script writing is not for me. I'm glad to be getting this settlement I don't know, this amount of money from my uncle, then I don't have to write this script for money. And so as she's waiting for that to come, she finds out that she's been written out of the will. So no will for her. Her other sisters get it.
No way.
So
what
upset.
was the reason?
I don't know, but her dad told her, like, no, you're
I'm
cut out.
offended for her.
Exactly. I think they said you already have enough money, so you don't need it, something like that. And she's like, what the hell? She talks to her sisters. Her sisters kind of say, okay, maybe we'll give you part of the money. And then she finds out, oh, she wasn't actually cut off from the will, so it's fine. And so everyone's waiting for the money to come, and then the money comes, and it's very little considering how much they thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
They thought it would be like hundreds of thousands, but it's like 50,000, 40,000, something like that. And so then she has to keep writing the script because the will was not enough money.
Yeah.
And so she keeps working on the script, but it comes out years later, and it's Harry Met Sally. And if she had gotten a bunch of money from that testament, then she would have never written this movie, and she would have never gone into screenwriting.
Was she really going to just put it aside if she got the money?
That's what she wrote in one of her books. She was like, oh, it was so hard. I was only doing it for money. There was no other reason I was doing it.
That's insane. It didn't look like she was doing it for money.
Exactly.
Like, if you were doing it only for money, then it's going to show itself. Like,
I know.
It's not going to be your soul and your heart in it. The concept of the movie is even something that is so personal. So how could you say that?
Well, the same thing applies to The Godfather Part 2. So that's one of the most famous, loved movies of all time.
Right.
And Francis Ford Coppola only did it, even Godfather Part 1, he only did it as an assignment. So they gave him this job. He's like, okay, I'll do it. I'll learn some things from it. It's a gangster movie. It is what it is. Like, it's not my love to make this, but I will. And then he ended up making the greatest American film of all time, literally. So sometimes that happens with assignments.
Maybe it's like, when someone starts a business and it's like their interest, it usually goes just so far. It doesn't go like that crazy. Usually the businesses that do really well are those that you have a little interest maybe in the product, but you're like
desperate.
Yeah, like you're doing it for survival. So if your goal is survival, you're definitely gonna get somewhere. Like, there are no bridges behind you. You have no way out. You gotta make this or like totally break and fall down. That's the only way you're gonna make actually something so memorable and so iconic.
Such a good point. Let's burn our bridges in 2024.
I know.
Any kind of safety net.
Okay, so what about the director? Was he also like the same mind? Was he doing it for the money and all that? Or well, he was really wealthy too, just like the
director at that point. He made 2 really amazing movies back to back.
No.
I know one of them was A Princess Bride. I'm blocking out what the second one was, but 2 of his classics.
Wow.
So he met with Nora first and was like, I really want to make this rom-com about this topic that I care about. And then he went and made his 2 really crazy classics. So he was on top of his game at that point.
Wow. Okay.
And so I'm sure, like, because he was so creatively fulfilled, he was like, now it's time that I conquer the romantic comedy genre. I've done it all.
I'm going to ask, like, what are the other 2 films genre?
So one of them is, surprisingly enough, that's also a romantic comedy, but it's also action, adventure.
I see. The Bride one?
Yes, and it's based on a book. So one thing that he's really smart in doing is always...
Adaptation.
Yeah, lots of adaptations, always like working with the writer. So he's not the sole writer.
That's
he writes with other people. Yeah. And for example, another movie he made, Misery, it's an adaptation of Stephen King's book.
Oh,
so he's smart.
Look at that.
Yeah. So good.
The thing is, like, now you're a director. I think one lesson that you can get out of this, or any other person, is to get along with writers.
That's so
you
true.
got that already. You get along with me, so
that's
probably
good.
Have to come up with something.
But it's so hard to still work with a writer. Like, when we and you work, my main instinct is always to be like, oh, this is not going to work. Oh, this is not going to work. But you have to be open.
That's
so
right.
Hard.
I really want to see like an open session of these like live or like exactly as they're working, like how do they do it? Because it always gets blocked. So for example, the writer says something like their ideas, and then immediately the director is like, no, that's not realistic, probably. Like this is how it should go. And then the writer disagrees, and it's like so hard. I don't know how.
I know. Well, what I heard was when Rob and Nora met, Rob pitched Nora an idea, and Nora immediately was like, no, I'm not interested. And then apparently they were at the restaurant, and they hadn't ordered food yet. So immediately Nora rejected him, and then the room is silent and awkward and everything. And then Rob pitched the second idea, which was the friendship that gets ruined after they have sex. So it kind of makes me think. And then after that, Nora was like, oh, I see this idea. I have some kind of way I can play it out.
Right.
And I think then they said goodbye. So I'm wondering if the way to do it is to have like multiple ideas ready.
Right.
And you start pitching back and forth until you hear like something really resonates with the other person.
I see, yes.
And then at that point, that's my question. Like, what do they do after that? Do they go back and forth with how to break that down? Or do they say, okay, goodbye, let's go work on it separately and then come back and see what matches and what doesn't match?
I wonder. Yeah, exactly.
So hard.
But as you say, one thing that is always going to happen, like has to happen, is the fact that it has to personally resonate with either party. So there has to be something personal in it. Definitely. Like usually when we also like we worked on one script together, it was like we didn't continue that. And we also worked on another one and filmed it, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah, that one too. Yeah. So the thing is, the idea usually for both of them was the one that resonated with both of us. Like definitely something that we experienced, something that we struggle with. So that's why it clicked and worked.
Exactly. You gotta have some angle to go in.
Exactly, yes. And the thing is, like, it's going to be so much harder when the writer is a woman and a man, and they're working on a theme that is the same way, right? But maybe that also makes it easier because the woman is like, yeah, this is my part. Like, Sally is all mine. Like, I know women. I know how they go about it.
Right.
And you just come up with the Harry part, maybe. Maybe that makes it actually easier.
I wonder.
For this kind of movie.
Well, at the same time, of course, Nora wrote the whole thing, and Rob was giving more tips. Like, this is how you should change it, this is how.
I see. Well, she had the character kind of like personality in mind, so that makes it so much easier to come up with dialogues.
And how cool is that she was a journalist, so her whole life she was interviewing people, and she knew how to understand who they are.
Yeah.
And then she became a writer.
And how also relatable, for example, Sally is. For example, in the first scenes, she's talking about the fact that, well, I don't have much of a story to tell, but I'm going to become a journalist. And Harry's like so right about other people's stories.
Yeah, that's great.
And you're like, yeah, that's true. Like, for example, I can definitely relate to that. I'm not experiencing life actively. I try to write about it and write about other people's like experiences and stories, and it's like at times it kind of makes you feel like, oh, I'm not living, I'm not doing anything.
That's so fair, but at the same time you think Nora wrote Sally based on herself,
right?
So of course Sally experienced so many things, and Sally has the same quirks as Nora does. So Nora's a great cook, she loves the food the way that she loves. She has these like restaurants she always goes to, family gatherings, friends gatherings.
Right.
So it's like she literally wrote herself into the script.
Exactly.
It's not that she didn't get to live. It's not
but,
fair to say.
You know, as a young person, probably that's how it is.
Right.
When you're just starting out. Whereas, like, the guy was also kind of the same age, I think. Or he graduated, right? Harry graduated at that
I think he was a little older, maybe.
Yeah, he was. But, like, already he was so pessimist, and he kind of, like, felt like he knew about life and people and all that, like women. He had everything figured out.
The only thing I'm thinking about is, like, for example, Charles Dickens or an Ernest Hemingway. Like, they lived such full lives outside of their writing.
That's right. Or this guy, Alexander Dumas.
Alexander Dumas.
He lived. Like, definitely. That's right.
So either you've got to find the balance to live out your life, or, like, you are living it out and you don't realize.
Yeah, I think we are living it. We're kind of having a different idea of living. We have this expectation that living is being out there and doing that, whereas like at any moment you're living.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
just have to make the best of it and be happy, and maybe that's what the goal is. Really.
Exactly.
The thing is, like, any kind of writing that you do or any decision that you make is based on everything that has happened to you and any moment that you've actually lived. So nothing goes to waste, really.
Exactly.
So
I love, we got to do a whole episode on Rob Reiner, I have to say.
Yeah.
His style. So what about the visual elements stuck with you? Walking out, like, was there anything that you were like, whoa, I'm going to think about this? If it's about how it looks or how it feels. Anything.
Exactly. So the autumn scene that they're walking in the park and there are like these leaves on the trees all orange and they're also on the ground.
Yeah, wow.
That stuck with me. Like, usually when I think about this movie now, I remember mostly autumn, even though like it's about December and New Year's and all that. At the end, it's usually, for me, it's like this orange color. Exactly like the ones that we have in the background.
True.
It's so orange for me, and also I have this idea of, New York, busy, enthusiasm. It's exactly like the
work
color.
culture too, and like the way people dress is so goofy but serious, like business casual.
I know the way that they made their hair is crazy, the volume and all that. So yeah, I think about that, and also one more is their apartments, like the view of the city.
Yeah, it's true.
So beautiful. That's one, and also the Christmas trees that they were dragging. I don't know, that also stuck with me as
That's
well.
amazing. Like the whole movie feels orange to you because of those scenes in the orange. And you think those are probably the easiest scenes to shoot because they just had to be in the park at the right time.
You know, and it's not even just that scene that kind of makes me think of this movie as orange. It's just the feeling of it. Like, there's this passion in it, or there's this enthusiasm in it that really resembles orange.
That's so true, exactly. And of course, the production design, they managed to have orange everywhere, even in the scenes where there is no.
Wow. That's crazy.
Autumn leaves. Yeah, it's so cool because, as you say, like the movie is so related to the color orange. And their apartments. So there's one thing about the apartments is they were not realistic as to the amount of money that each character would be making.
A studio? Oh,
yeah.
I see.
They were like too fancy.
I know. I was like, what is this about? Like, at first I was like, oh my God, these people have really worked. Like, they have everything figured out. Now their only problem they have is their love life.
Exactly.
How lucky. Like, look at the apartment. That's crazy.
In New York.
In New York.
10 windows. Yeah.
I know. What was even Harry doing? I wonder.
I know. They keep saying he's a political consultant. I don't know what that means. He consults politics. But either way, he wasn't making as much money to have that apartment. And he got a divorce. I'm sure there was some kind of alimony.
And how did he even get to keep that apartment? I'm sure the woman wouldn't just give up.
So true.
Unless she cheated. She cheated, right?
She did cheat.
Okay. Probably that's why. But still, like, crazy apartment. That's something that stuck with me. I also liked when they were, like, talking on the phone. You know that scene that they were talking, like, 4 of them are talking, 4 best friends are talking on the phone?
So great.
Apparently, it took so much for them to shoot that scene. 60 takes or more. Even.
Wow.
It's very hard. So it's like they did it at the same time.
They did?
I think so.
What?
Yeah. I read it somewhere on an article. And it was like the hardest one to do. To get it right.
That's crazy because as soon as one person stops talking, the other starts. It's like literally a musical piece. It's
exactly.
Crazy.
I wonder how they did that. I was like, maybe they shoot it like, definitely not on the phone. Like, they shoot it all differently. But
well, if you read it, then you read it. It's true. But I would have thought they wouldn't shoot all at the same time because then they would have to have 4 cameras. Well, 3 cameras.
3 cameras.
And like 3 different lighting setups in different locations. And
all these sounds.
All these microphones and everything. So I would have thought they really planned it out to have like almost like a score, musical score. Like you have to say, hello, how are you? Come over, good. Like both say good at the same time.
Yeah, like silent, exactly like a musical piece. So there's got to be silent. You say like, hello. And yeah, kind of like that. Like beats, you're going to have so much beats. And
right. And I don't know, maybe the other actors were kind of in the background saying their lines so that the actor who was on mic could like hear it. I don't know. But it's so amazing and fast and
exactly. I wonder because I read it, but I think I have to do like exact research on how they precisely did this. Like, was it exactly at the same time? Maybe it was like maybe 2 and then 2 like at the same time. Maybe you know, Sally and those 2 on the bed, and then maybe Harry and those 2 also on the bed. I don't know. No, that also doesn't work.
I wonder. And the other thing with filming is, so to save money and time, usually you film everything that's in a room and at a wall at the same time. So imagine this is the kitchen, and so Sally's making a coffee. Every time she makes a coffee in the movie, even if it's the beginning or end, they were going to film all of those at the same time. So they're going to like go wear your first clothes, come back, make a coffee. Go change into your crying clothes, come back and make a coffee. So that they never have to dress this wall again, this kitchen.
That's insane.
It's not really in order.
Well, it's going to make it look really bad because maybe the makeup is different. Maybe the way she's dressed is a little bit like different.
I know, and that's where so many people on set come in. So, for example, there's a makeup artist.
Well, they're not going to get it exactly the same, would they?
They would. They take pictures. For example, they're like, this is called look 1. They take a photo of it. And then there's another wardrobe person. Right. And there's another continuity person. So the continuity person literally sits down every shot. Okay, she brought her left hand up. She brought it up until here. And her shirt is like down that much. So the continuity person notes all these things down. She had her hand on the table so that it would always match going forward.
See.
It's crazy. So it makes me think every time Sally was in bed, and she was in bed a lot, like all the conversations, I feel like they shot all of those at the same time.
Wow.
And this part as well.
Oh my God.
It takes so much planning, don't you think?
Oh, yes, it does. It's like a mastermind. You have to like map out everything.
I know.
If it's going to be like at the same time. Whoa. Oh my God.
It's a lot of work.
It is. And that scene is one. Another scene with telephone is like the first time they're kind of bonding and they're talking. And apparently, like, they've been talking the whole night or something.
Yeah, and how romantic. They're watching Casablanca. Oh. We got to watch Casablanca on this film.
Sure, yeah.
Podcast as well. It's so romantic. It's about this guy who was in love with a woman, but the woman left him. Yeah. And now he's, like, in this random African city owning a bar. But then the woman who left him years ago comes back into his bar.
Oh my.
And he's trying to figure out, where did you go? Why did you leave me? What's happening? And then that's the whole story.
Oh, wow.
It's so romantic and amazing. You gotta watch.
It kind of, the name resembles Casanova that I also watched recently.
And we should watch Casanova.
Definitely, yes. And there's like so many adaptations of that one, but definitely worth it. And there's like the journal of Casanova as well, so maybe we could read that.
Yeah, we should.
And but I was watching that when they were like watching the movie and talking at the same time. It was like, you know, the watch parties that maybe like I've seen Amazon Prime has like Prime Video has, like you could do it at the same time. Like you could invite your friends and watch at the same time. I was like, yeah, look at that. At that time, they even did that.
They were so ahead of their time.
Exactly.
Well, at the same time, they were just watching TV, though. They were like, go to Channel 3. It's playing.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Like, they didn't start playing their movie at the same time.
I know. Oh, that's right. I was wondering, like, how did they... There were no streaming platforms at that point. No Netflix.
There was no email, even.
What?
Actually,
that's the 90s.
Yeah, no? Exactly. This was the 80s.
It was filmed in 1989. That's right. But
it takes place in the 80s.
Exactly, right.
And actually, Nora Ephron wrote another movie after this one called You've Got Mail. That's all about these two people who start to... Oh, you've seen it?
No, I know the same actress.
Right, the same actress. And Tom
she wrote it. Yeah.
Yes, and I think she directed it too. Oh my God.
Wow.
I could be wrong, but it's about these two people who start to form a email relationship, and then things go south when they actually meet in person.
Oh my God. I think you've said it before, right?
It's another New York rom-com.
That's right.
So
I think
cool.
you suggested it before. We have to watch it then, definitely.
We gotta do a episode that's all New York rom-coms, like 6 of them.
Imagine, yeah,
good.
exactly.
In terms of visual elements that really stuck out with me, so you have to think, the director has to choose, how am I going to tell the story visually? So right now, imagine there's a great script. It's already so good, and you've even cast it. You have the best cast. Now, where are you going to put the camera? How are you going to tell the story? And they did it so amazingly here, because it's like rom-coms are usually looked at as the least form of art. Like, oh, it's so simple. It's just romance. Put the camera in front of them. Let them do anything. But that's not what's going on here. There's always... So there's some kind of like traditional coverage, which means kind of covering each person in multiple angles. So like you want a close-up of them, you want a little bit further back, you want one with both of them in. So of course there's coverage throughout the movie, but there's so many other kinds of shots that are, for example, moving back with the characters and sitting, like turning around so that they could sit at a table.
Right.
Or like pulling back, pushing in, and panning back and forth. And these things are like, it takes effort to not only design them, to execute them. And you just think, oh my God, all this effort they went through to make the story more engaging. I'm always so impressed, because one kind of exercise you can do is to take a script and then start to draw what you think the shots should be to tell the story. And then you start to compare it with the actual movie, and almost always, at least for me, you realize, oh, how much more creative they are in the movie, the way they tell the story. And it's like always there's a perspective. Like usually is it Harry's perspective? Is it her perspective? Is it like somebody else watching this relationship? It's so interesting.
Wow, I didn't know this.
I was so impressed. So
because usually like you don't expect rom-coms to go through this much like difficulty and effort to do that. But then again, like it's essential. You want to at the end of the day keep the audience engaged, and they have to be hooked and like see where the camera is going, and it has to be changed. Like you can't just have, I don't know, just one wide shot or like just from like here.
I know.
And that's it. Like you can do that. But
like, it's just so creative, especially if you... There's two exercises. One is to watch a movie silently, just with no audio, so you can focus on just why is the shots there? Yeah, what's the point? And then another exercise is to read a script and try and visualize how you would do it and compare. It's so engaging. I'll recommend you do that as well.
Coming up with a kind of like a storyboard. You said as the earlier exercise that you were talking about. Yeah. So like, I kind of think that you kind of get creative when you are on set. You have to like work with whatever you have. But again, like, of course, they're so creative. They're so amazing.
I know. And I think it is like something you get better at. Like if you storyboard more, then you could get better at that. But the fact that they were so good, it's just shocking. Like you can tell a story with just the smallest little change. Like, for example, how do you show that Harry is starting to be more attracted to Sally at the beginning? So one way is that the actor starts to act more like cute, and the guy is like looking closer. That's one way.
That one.
Right? And that's very good. The actor is doing their job. But if at the same time you elevate that with the camera, so for example, first there's a shot where two of them are kind of far apart. Right. Then there's another shot where it's from her angle and she looks kind of like aggressive and from the corner. But when he starts to like her more, the camera comes more closer to her and more in the right direction. So as if instead of looking at her from far away, you're looking at her straight on and closer.
Wow.
It's like such a simple change, but it makes you feel closer to the girl. It makes you think you are the guy, like liking her more.
Exactly.
It's so amazing.
I know. Wow. That's like one of the most beautiful scenes. Like you suddenly see the change, because from before that he was like a little indifferent. And now why do you suddenly feel that you're closer to this character, as though like you are the one that is paying attention to her like behavior and her little quirks, and you kind of laugh just like the guy when she's like, oh, do I have something on my face?
I know, exactly. You fall in love with her at the same time as he falls in love.
Exactly. You know, I kind of wonder though, the only time period that doesn't sit with me is the second time they see each other and they're on the airplane. I kind of wonder, like, what was the point of that?
Yeah, where are they going even?
Yeah. It's like, okay, yeah, the point is to introduce this new long-term relationship that Sally has, and to show that Harry is going to get married.
Right.
But they're still, like, bantering, and they're, like, still not clicking, and they're talking about the old... I don't know. It was like their relationship got nowhere at that point. Maybe that was the point, of course, but...
That's true. It was almost like it's a repeat of the first one. It's almost like a trick. Like, you would think, oh, now they're back. They're going to get together.
Yeah.
But no, this is another time where they pass over each other.
Right.
I do think it works, because if it wasn't there, then it would be, they're so young here and they didn't work out. Now, 10 years later, they are going to work out. So that would be too easy.
Yeah.
But if there's one more problem that they have in the middle.
You know, it also, their relationship kind of reminded me of Ross and Rachel in Friends. I don't know, just the New York vibe and the whole, like, friends not getting together, going together, back, having sex, you know, doing all these things. It kind of reminded me of that.
For sure. And the girl's aesthetic reminded me of Greta Gerwig a lot. You know, director
the
of Barbie.
awkwardness? Yeah,
Yeah. It's like,
awkwardness.
I wonder if Greta was inspired by this aesthetic of Meg Ryan in this movie.
Ooh.
To, like, change her whole personality, dress more like that.
What?
Because she grew up in New York. Like, she lives in New York.
Right.
She dresses like that. She kind of walks like that.
In Frances Ha,
exactly.
that one. She was so awkward.
Right. So it kind of makes you think, like, you gain your personality sometimes from movies. It's possible.
Maybe. But still, like, she's totally, like, quirky and on her own, you know? She's, like, a totally different, unique entity.
I know, or maybe that's just New Yorkers. Like, that's how they look and dress. Because there's another movie called Annie Hall, another rom-com, actually.
Yeah.
About two people who meet, and they're so great together. Like, they think they're going to get married, but it ends up not working out, and they separate.
Wow.
But the girl in it is so similar in style to this girl, and she's another New Yorker. So it makes me think, like, that's how they dress. They have the blonde hair, the hats, the suits.
Yeah, exactly. The 90s were always, like, the golden time, I think, of New York and fashion.
Right.
Especially with Jennifer Aniston. She actually reminded mostly of Jennifer Aniston because of Ross and Rachel. The whole, like, their sunglasses and their dresses and everything.
Exactly.
Just the same. Just the same.
And they live such a similar area, too. Like, they probably
Manhattan?
live a few blocks away.
Oh.
From real Ross and Rachel.
They were in Manhattan, I think. Yeah. But I don't know these people.
Yeah.
Yeah?
They were.
Okay.
Everyone is in Manhattan. I want to be in Manhattan, too.
Did you go there when you were in New York? Did you like it?
Oh, Manhattan is great. There's, like, the west side and the east side, upper, lower.
Oh, my.
Greenwich Village is so cool.
Nice.
It's like this tiny area, right? But it's not that
so
tiny.
So cute.
It's really good. And this film has so many funny scenes. So one thing that I always think about, and it makes me laugh every time, even if I'm not laughing outside, I'm laughing internally. It's when he's talking about his divorce, and it's the saddest thing. He's like, and then she said, I don't think I've ever loved you. And then the crowd starts to surf. And then the crowd starts to surf, and it's like, wow, what the hell? Yeah, this is the saddest moment of your life, but they put it with, like, a happy, everyone celebrating. And they keep doing that every time.
I know.
That really stuck with me.
You know, the thing is that I think them explaining their relationship, it's good for bonding. But at a certain point, like, it feels like they're dragging it too long. Like, they already have feelings for each other, but they're still talking about their old relationships. It's like, oh, don't talk about that in front of him, or don't talk about this ex-wife in front of her. Like, it's so unattractive.
So hard, though. It's true. But imagine being married to someone. You're going to talk about them forever.
Yeah, I think at that scene, she was still, like, hung up on that ex that she claimed that she forgot about after, like, their breakup. Even immediately after the breakup, she was like, I don't care about him anymore. Like, I'm over it. But they dragged it so long. Like after years of being friends with this guy, she's still like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna cry over him and all that, and then just to make yourself happier, I guess.
It's because they were like, even though they were attracted to each other, they also didn't really, their personalities didn't work together that much, if you think about it. Like, he's so, negative, she's so positive. And even when you first meet Harry, you don't really like him.
No.
For the longest time.
Exactly.
So it was like they were trying to avoid it as long as possible. I really would rather be with anyone but you. But then, because they spent so much time together, they somehow fall in love. And it is what it is. It has to be. There's no other way.
Exactly.
So watch When Harry Met Sally again and let us know what you think.
That's right. It's a New Year's movie, very emotional.
It's going to make you want to go to New York, find a guy, find a girl, go to a party, restaurant, start to have orgasm there.
Oh my God.
And drive 18 hours. Like everything that happens in there, you want to now go do it.
Exactly. Like dedicate your life to make this movie. Like 12 years.
Remake.
And 12 years and 3 months. It takes to find a guy.
Sweet. Yeah, and the perfect ending. And then it cuts away. You're like, I want to see more of them. Isn't that what you thought?
That's exactly
Suddenly
what it
up.
is. Yeah.
Such a legendary movie.
So beautiful.
Enjoy and have a great Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone. Have a great 2024 and
full of joy and success and
blessing and happiness.
Burning bridges. Yep.
Burning and happiness. That's right.
And amazing movies and books, film, literature.
Yeah, let us like dream big and go after that star, you know. Just go after creating and making a better life for ourselves and everyone around us. Enjoy life with literature, with movies, with Plot Pals.
With Plot Pals, exactly.
Yes.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye.
If they asked me, I could write a book